Recording now.
All right, so we'll just jump right into it. The first question is, what do you think is the greatest technological advancement in history?
In history, I don't know, but I have to say, I think the fact that I can see my family, even though they're like a million miles away, and talk to them, I think that that's like the coolest thing in the entire world. Before my husband and I got married, he lived up here in North Dakota and I lived down in Idaho. And so like FaceTime or like even simply just being able to call while he drove truck was like what kept our relationship together, you know? And so I think that, I don't know, just the ability to be able to stay in contact with people is pretty darn amazing, especially with like the video chat, because I don't know, I think that to this day that still blows my mind that we have that this ability to be sitting here from all different places and communicating with each other and seeing each other and making it so much easier to have a connection with people. I totally agree with that. My husband's in the military, and so I often reflect on what spouses went through in previous conflicts and wars and how they didn't have these technological capabilities to keep in touch with their service member the way that I've been able to. And that has been like such a huge blessing. Like I can't, the longest that we've ever had to go without speaking to each other, like even not necessarily seeing each other, but actually speaking like on the phone to each other, is 6 weeks. And that was the worst 6 weeks of my life. And I can't imagine, I know people whose husbands went through World War II and Vietnam and all that, and they didn't speak to them for months, and for some of them even like more than a year. And so, I mean, I am totally super thankful for this kind of technology, for sure.
Yes, I agree with both of you. I think the internet is just a miracle, and the fact that people can communicate and get messages across and across the country and all over the world and do it fast and send emails and messages and things like that. That's just a miracle to me. Like you don't need to have any money. You can go to a public library and be able to use the internet and communicate and Skype or things like that. So that's what I put cell phones and internet. So we can have both in our hand, and that's just amazing to me.
And the prophets once said, sorry, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. He said it's fit years and years, like got like 50 years of conference talks in our pockets with along with all of our scriptures and everything like that. And when he said that, I was like, wow, you're right. I can have like what the prophets say, like right at my fingertips at any moment that I want. And I thought that was a really cool analogy. Thank you.
All right. If no one else has anything else to say, we'll move on to our next question. Why have we witnessed such an acceleration in technology in these last days? And why do you think the Lord might be behind it?
I think that the Lord wants us to spread the gospel into other lives way more effectively. I think that's that's the reason he wants us all to have the fullness, like what Brenda was saying. He wants us to have it in our pockets and just share it with each other. And that's how he shows his love with one another, with how we show our love for each other, but also how he uses us to show his love for his children. And it's way more effective if we use the media properly.
Yeah, I think it is a total awesome missionary tool to be able to use it. The video that we watched where I think it was just called Share the Gospel, where it just showed the girl sending picture texts and things like that to people, really kind of hit home for me, because that's kind of like how I started investigating the church. Was a friend just sent me a few cute little quotes or whatever, and sent me a link to the Bible videos on the LDS.org website. And then being able to just even have the Book of Mormon like on my cell phone was amazing for me. Like, because once I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. And so I always had it with me. Like literally, I'd be sitting in a parking lot waiting to pick up my kids from school, read another chapter. You know, like, I mean, it was nonstop. And so I think it's so cool that we're able to just, hold our phones and here you go, and just share it. So easy. Just share it. And I love that Dieter F. Uchtdorf quote at the end of the video. It was the share the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. Like, I love that. So I think it's an amazing missionary tool that we're able to have this kind of technology.
Can I say something? I love the fact that we can share the gospel. I also think he uses it, this advancement, so that we can get information, so that we can, like, we're here today, all of us, because we can get it on the internet and take school. I wouldn't be able to go to school or gain the kind of knowledge that I would like to do, or better our family or our family situation without it. And so I think he blesses us not only to share the gospel, but it enriches our lives in ways that we wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yes, and I agree, Brenda. I feel the same way. I think it's such a blessing to be able to do BYU online, because I wouldn't be able to be at BYU either. So it's just nice to be able to be a mom, say, at home, and it's just a miracle also. So let's see. Oh, I just wanted to share a quote by Brigham Young when he said that every discovery in science and art that is really true and useful to mankind has been given by direct revelation from God. And I think that it was in either Elder Bednar's talk, I think he said that Heavenly Father knew how advanced technology was going to be in these last days, and how fast people move and how busy people are, and with how he made it possible for us to be able to share the gospel through the internet. And it's such a great tool for missionaries and for all of us to be able to share the gospel that way. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add? If not, I'll move on to the next question. What might your day-to-day behavior with technology tell others about how you really feel about the purpose and blessing of technology?
I like this question because this is something that my husband and I talk about a lot. He is like so addicted to his phone, like so bad. And he knows it. So he does a lot of different things to make sure that he stays away from his phone for the most part. It's not bad to get on and check your Facebook or whatever, but all the time is just too much. So he doesn't have Facebook on his phone most of the time. Sometimes he collapses and downloads it again, but he keeps it on his laptop. So most of the time he's not on his laptop. Just kind of keeps him away from that stuff. But he teases me because I keep Facebook on my phone, and I have Instagram. And but the difference is I don't usually get on it. The only time I get on is to share a missionary-based message, whether it be like here are just a couple examples. We went to Maui this last summer for like one of our vacations, and I posted a picture about it, but instead of posting like, here's my fun vacation, like, woohoo, it was like, I'm so grateful to my Heavenly Father for providing such beautiful places to go to. Like, this is a big testimony builder for me. And I like share my testimony with like everything that I post. It's never just like, here's my weekend, or, you know, whatever, this is what I ate for breakfast. In almost every single one of my posts that I have, it is sharing my testimony. And I have a lot of non-member friends on Facebook and Instagram, and that's why I keep them, is because through my posts, I've had several people become interested in the church and be baptized. And to me, I think it's just as important that we actively, you know, share our testimony, actively do those things as much as we actively try not to become addicted to those things. So that's one thing that I think that that social media and these devices, like everyone has been saying, they can have lots of negative side effects if we allow them to. But if we are actively trying to find ways to invite the gospel into our lives and to others' lives through them, then they become a super huge blessing.
So years ago,
Go ahead.
sorry. So years ago, my husband and I were married 16 years ago, and we first decided not to get TV, and we didn't have internet back then. We were so old, but we decided not to get TV at that time because we couldn't afford it. But then we realized the difference that it made in our lives from sitting down and watching it all the time. We both came from parents who would sit down and watch TV a lot, to having all that time to talk. And we ended up playing games together and going rock climbing and wakeboarding and did all these other kind of things together. And so even to this day, 16 years later, we don't have a TV in our home. And we do have several laptops, as now the schools give them to your children for free, which is annoying. So we have several laptops, and that's really hard to control, but I feel like we had it under control for a while, and I'm so proud of how we were doing. But now that all three of my kids all have laptops because they have to do their homework on it, it's so hard to control. And so I ended up buying a router limit thing that shuts off the internet completely. And so at certain times of the day, the internet is just shut off and they can't get on it. And so it's and just veg, especially my kids. They just love, my daughter is a Pinterest addict, and I'll just go over there and I'm like, okay, turn it off. So anyways, that's my thoughts. It really shows what we value, if we value our home or if we value the internet.
You guys are both really good examples for me to follow. I don't post too many things on Facebook, but when I do, it's usually pictures of my daughter or things that my husband and I, when we go out. Or, but it is a great missionary tool. We can use that to inspire and uplift others and share the gospel. Thinking of this question of how our behavior, how it on the internet or social media, how others see us. I think about people that I follow on Facebook, and how easily you can tell what kind of what kind of day they're going through, or how they feel. Like if they're always on changing their pictures all the time, their profile pictures, and I just feel like they might be lonely, or they just want to they want attention. I also have friends who always post inspirational things, articles, messages by prophets, and I see where she stands and where their values are and what they're trying to accomplish. And I think that people see us that way. The things that we post and the things that we share, it's a direct reflection of not only who we are, but what our motives are. And it's such a great tool, and sometimes we just overlook it. So this assignment that we had this week, I usually don't share my feelings on Facebook, or there's nothing really that I write. I just don't do that. So what I shared was something about the Las Vegas, the tragedy that happened, and with that I shared a Bible quote just to give people hope. It was about Christ saying that he had overcome the world, and there will be trials and there'll be sorrow. And it just felt good to do that, because that's really how I felt. And I was also able to, I guess, shed some light or give some hope to some people. I hope. So we can do that. And that's not something I usually do, but it was a good experience for me. Should we move on to the next question? What connections can you make between Elder Bednar's principles and the 4 wings of the dragonfly?
I think they're all kind of interrelated to one another. Like I wrote them down each like in the order that they were presented, and it kind of follows a similar flow. Like like for Elder Bednar, he said the first one, is to be authentic and consistent. And for the dragonfly one, the first 2 little wings are focus and grab attention, and that kind of, I feel like, goes together. Like, because if you're going to grab attention, you want to be authentic in that, and then being consistent would also be like a focus. And I guess it would kind of go with engage as well. Like, they're all kind of just interrelated. I mean, his, I think, kind of build more upon the dragonfly model, like, because it has the focus, grab attention, engage, and take action. And then I feel like Elder Bednar's builds upon it by saying, by being authentic. And you want to edify and uplift, but you want to respect intellectual property, and be wise and vigilant. I feel like that is kind of like building on what the dragonfly model already has. I don't know.
Yes, I think they're interrelated also. And with the dragonfly idea, I liked that it says that we need to develop a goal and we need to keep it simple. And when I think about Elder Bednar's talk and how we need to use it to share the gospel, we're not just kind of sharing anything, but we need to have maybe a goal in mind to maybe strengthen families or advocate for just protecting the family, or just make a goal so that you know where you're going. And then I think all of these points with the dragonfly are just, they're really good, because it also talks about involving, empowering others. And I think that if we, going back to Elder Bednar's ideas, if we are sincere and we're authentic and we want to edify, we will also, it'll help to apply the points of the dragonfly. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think they both go hand in hand, and they're great ideas. Does anyone else want to share anything on this particular question? No? Okay. So I think we answered the next one. Do they promote and reinforce each other? I think we said yes, they do. Do you agree or disagree with the argument made?
Sorry, I was typing. Are we agreeing or disagreeing with what argument?
It doesn't say what argument. I'm assuming it's the dragonfly.
The argument that we made that it does? I say yes, I agree.
I know, I don't know what argument. I think it's talking about just the...
Me. Yeah, I'm not sure either. That's why I wasn't saying anything. So
that question just comes after, do they promote and reinforce each other? And then it says, do you agree or disagree with the argument made? So
I think we all kind of disagreed that they do reinforce and promote each other, right?
Yeah, I think we all agree. So we could do, if we can move on if you guys want. I don't know. Okay, so what were some of its strengths and weaknesses? I think with the dragonfly idea, with the 4 wings of the dragonfly.
So when we were reading the dragonfly idea, it talked about something where it says, don't wait until you have a full plan of action. You should just go. And I always find that when I just go without a plan of action, I always say something I shouldn't say, or I say it in the wrong way, or I don't think about my words. And so while I think it's good to just move forward and not let your fears and your need for exact detail hold you back, because I could analyze forever holding myself back and not actually doing anything. It's more comfortable that way. But I don't think I should just jump forward either without a plan of action, because my mouth gets me in trouble a lot on accident. So that's what I think.
I can't tell you how many like political or like social posts that I have that I've literally written out and just sent to my husband. Like, not posting it, but I need you to read it so somebody reads it so I can have the peace of mind that I said something, because I would get in a lot of trouble if I just posted this angry rant on Facebook. So I agree with you there.
That's good. That's a good point, because I mean, all I saw was strengths. So that could be a weakness too. I think I have also posted the stuff that I later regretted, because I got caught up in the emotion of the moment. So yeah. The next question is, use the above readings from the dragonfly effect as a barometer. What evidence was left out that could have helped to further reinforce the argument?
These are hard and confusing questions. I think that some of the stuff that we need to remember, and maybe he said this and I just didn't really think, but we have to be really sensitive. And I feel like it's talking about just going forward and just going, and it's kind of like what I just last said. Going forward without thinking gets you into trouble, but it also doesn't give you time to think about what other people are feeling, or put yourself in other people's positions, or understand arguments from your side. And so I love the goals that they have, just of making a plan, and every part of the dragonfly, I read it and I thought it was great. But I think there needs to be an area in there for personal direction and spiritual direction, and not just what I think, because oftentimes what I think is not necessarily right. So I think there needs to be maybe the head that listens to spiritual direction and guiding, rather than just our thoughts and what we want to say that day, because we could be wrong. And I think we need to be open to being wrong too, because I'm wrong a lot.
Going along with that, Elder Bednar's 4 points when he says be authentic, edify, uplift. And the third one is to respect intellectual property. So we do need to remember, what audience we're speaking to, and be respectful, and really think about what we are trying to accomplish, or where our motives are behind whatever we're sharing or posting. And then the last part says be wise and vigilant. I think it goes along with what you said.
So they kind of, it was what I had just said. I just was thinking about it in a different way, but they had said basically everything I just said. So
I think the gospel comes in, like Elder Bednar, and he makes these points, that he fills in the cracks. The gospel always fills in the cracks of like what makes sense of the world, right? So I think like the dragonfly effect is like, this is how you make an effective post. And Elder Bednar is like, hey, this is how you make a spiritually effective post. And so I think that that's important too, is, we are communicating with the world. And when we engage with these social media outlets, we're communicating with the world. And I think we need to, like you guys have said, understand that, be sensitive to that. But regardless of being afraid of hurting somebody's feelings, or, there's ways to be sensitive and still share your beliefs. And so I think that the dragonfly effect and the Elder Bednar's kind of just go together, so you can accomplish that sensitive but effective, smart, edifying, all together, just good stuff.
So I think it's just asking about the same thing, the dragonfly effect, the argument. The next question is, what made it persuasive?
Okay, I don't know if this is actually right or not, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. I I think the reason why it was so persuasive is because it touched people's hearts about something so important to every one of us. Life, usually, because I don't know, I kind of compared it in a way to like the pillars of the gospel: the fall, the atonement, and I can't remember the last one, death or something like that. Eternal life. Anyways, I feel like those are three very potent topics. And so when I was just looking and remembering that they were talking about the young man that had a terminal illness, and they were trying to find a donor for him. And the reason why it touched so many hearts is because it was something that was so dear to everybody. Life is dear to everybody. Anyways, those are some random thoughts. I hope they make sense, but I think that's one of the reasons why it was that touched so many people.
Yeah, I think anytime you use something as powerful as life, I think that kind of makes your argument a little bit more persuasive to people. Because it was a really good presentation. Like, I cried when the chick cried. Like, it was sad, so like, but I think if they had presented it, using a different example, it does make me wonder if I would be like as persuaded. Like, if they picked some other topic that isn't such a topic that really touches our hearts as much. So, yeah.
I think when it talks about posting things that are like relatable and authentic, I think anytime real emotions and real people, real experiences are shared, I know at least somebody will be able to understand or be like, oh, I go through the same thing. We talk a lot about the Facebook filter and like the Instagram filter, where like everybody's perfect, this is my happy, perfect life. And I've got some friends that we're all kind of in different parts of our life, but there's a group of us, and there's about, I think, 8 of us, and we're all still friends from high school, the same friend. The dog is chasing his tail. We're all still friends, and we've gone through a lot of different things together. And we talk about this quite often, how Facebook and Instagram are really difficult because most of the time, everything that's posted is sugar-coated to make it look like it's like the best ever. And it's just so great, and everybody else should want to live my life because it's just so awesome. And while yes, it's good to post things that like, I'm doing well, I'm doing great, my family's good, updating the rest of you guys that are my family and friends, we're all good, But when there is sincere, authentic, genuine posts happening, I think that's where, the attention is grabbed, where like things do become persuasive. Because like my house right now, if I were to turn the little camera around and show you guys what my house looks like, I'm pretty sure that would be relatable to about, 50% of the rest of the population. And, I have a dingus dog right here who chases his tail all day, and it makes me think he's loopy in the head. He likes to run into walls, and nobody's life is perfect, and it's in those imperfections that we all have common ground. I'm sure that you guys have different talents and where you're almost perfect in, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's, art, maybe it's reading, or maybe it's scripture reading. But I can tell you that within all those perfections that everybody else may have, we have a lot more common ground in the flaws and in the realities of life. And I think that that's what makes, when you're being authentic and you're posting about your real experiences, that's where it becomes so real, and everybody, not everybody probably, but a lot of people can relate to that more, and it can become more persuasive.
Thank you for that. One of the things that the lady said was people are in search for happiness, and they want to make their lives meaningful and have purpose and just enrich their lives. And by the way they can do that is by impacting, creating impact, or helping others. And that's one way. And as members of the church, we know where true joy comes from. But people who aren't members or don't have a knowledge of Heavenly Father's plan, I think this is a good argument, because people really do want to be happy. And I think that by doing things that are going to enrich or bless others' lives, like this post that helped these two men that had cancer, it was great, and I'm sure that brought happiness to them. And so I think that for me, when I think about, well, why am I doing this? Why do I have to share something meaningful? I think it really does bring happiness and joy to be able to start a movement or do something where others will be involved and also see change in their lives. And so when she mentioned happiness, I was like, oh, that caught my attention, because I'm like, what do they have to say about this? Because I know how to find happiness, but I want to know like somebody else's perspective that is going to take the God out of it. So that was interesting. That was an interesting point that they made. All right. The last question. How well did each blog or Facebook page, did each of the 4 dragonfly wings in the wait, I have the question here. I can't even read my own writing. Okay, how well did each blog, Facebook page, so at each of the 4 dragonfly wings in the dragonfly effect? So like sew together?
Are they talking about the ones that we posted?
I think so. I think because the Hangout on Air instruction said something about finding your own like micro and macro version of like a blog or a Facebook post to see.
It's your mom face.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
I think the question, it definitely does say so on the page, but how well did each Facebook blog page do at each of the 4 dragonfly wings, the dragonfly effect?
Right.
Yeah, I was like, something's off. You would think with all these people taking these online classes that there wouldn't be errors. I guess, let's see, I'll just go look at our little
Sorry, I still don't understand. So it's talking about the post that we did on Facebook.
Yeah.
And how well did it do?
No, I think it's talking about the ones that we were supposed to look up. The 2 we were supposed to look up 2 Facebook posts.
Oh.
Or blog.
I didn't do that.
I didn't do it.
Did any? I did it, didn't
I thought it was talking about ours. Oops.
Yeah.
am I wrong?
Brenda, do you want to share what you read and
Yes.
what you looked up, please?
Sure. So, one of the things I noticed was that I think it really depends on what you're looking for and how willing you are to search. Because, to be honest, I wasn't really looking for some of the information that I found and wasn't completely interested. So the posts that were like 5 pages long were just unimportant to me. I didn't want to read all of that because I wasn't fully invested in what it had to say. So I think depending on where you're, I think it makes a difference. And some of the posts that I found, the blogs that I found, one of them just had quick, almost like soundbite things where it was like, da-da-da, you know, and it was a quick, interesting catch that kind of caught your eye, and it started out with your attention grabber, and it had one focus, and it wasn't pages and pages long. And so I really liked that. You could go and listen to, like, read it and get what you wanted, and it followed a lot of the Dragonfly Wings really well, but wasn't overly engaging. Well, not engaging because it was too much information all at once. So the focus was off. It did grab your attention, but didn't keep it. And it didn't really make you
What are you doing?
do anything. So I think that made a difference to me. So I found one good
Oh, your water's over there.
those things. So that's my thoughts. Is anybody like, so you've all seen posts like that. So do you agree with what I'm saying? Is it weird that I'm saying that it can be too long? Or
No, I totally agree with everything you just said, because like I get on Facebook and I want to see like things that my friends have posted or like ideas. I have several friends who have like blogs, and it's like I will never look at your stuff because I click on it and it's like 5 billion words long, and it's like, nope. Mm-mm. But then like I have a friend who does a blog, and it's like they're just short little paragraphs of like this, and it's totally like her title is like that's the focus, and like the rest of it just focuses on that little detail of whatever she wanted to focus on, the principle, whatever. And I definitely do think that to have an effective post, like my husband, he refuses to post on Facebook unless it's like something like big, and or like he's trying to make a huge statement, because he doesn't want to overpost, because when you overpost, people are like, oh, they post all the time, don't pay attention. So I definitely think that there are like really good guidelines that the Dragonfly thing has, like to the point, engaging, continue to keep that engaging, and stay focused on one aspect, because if you get too crazy, everyone's going to lose interest. I think there was something that said that as we're going through channels or like flipping through things, there's like 2 seconds where something has the ability to like grab our attention. And if it doesn't grab it within like those 2 seconds, you're gone. It's just gone. I looked up a couple things for the macro or micro whatever thing. And then I wanted to share one of my favorite people I follow on Instagram, because I feel like she does everything that the little dragonfly effect and what Elder Bednar says to do. If you're not familiar with her, I really highly recommend you checking this person out. Her page is called The Allison Show, and she's on Facebook and Instagram. And this girl, she speaks to my heart, because she's just kind of crazy. Like, she's a member of the church, but she puts herself out there, and she's loud and proud and amazing. And
part of the reason why I love her so much is she also just randomly videos herself doing some like ghetto dancing like this kind of thing. And that's just because it's her and it's authentically her and she's amazing and it makes me so happy. And she shares happiness every day by just being herself. And so, like I literally look forward to her daily posts because she posts something every day. And, so, I mean, she's authentic and consistent because she does that. And she edifies and uplifts by just being herself. She's just this cute, bubbly person. And she always is, and she respects intellectual property. Like she gives credit where credit's due and whatnot for things that either she's made up or things that she gives credit to others. And she has a focus. Her focus is to, it's like her focus is to be making you awesome. She has a podcast called Awesome with Allison. And so she's like a motivational type person. And so everything she does, it grabs your attention. She's kind of in your face a little bit, but I love it. I think she's amazing. And so, I mean, it's just, for me, she's in my opinion, you might disagree and that's totally okay. I think she does a really good job of engaging and just being a force for good in social media. So that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Nope. Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone. I think we had a good discussion. Some of the questions were a little confusing, but I think that we learned from each other today. And yeah, we had a good discussion. So who is going to give our wrap up?
That is me.
Okay.
Okay. So I just kind of wrote everything down. It's going to be interesting. Okay. Okay. We had a great discussion today. And so we started out with the question, what do you think is technological advancement? And we said that the fact that we can see our family millions of miles away and talk to them, and that it keeps our relationship between our families together and to be able to stay in contact.
Find something else to do. Mima wants to talk. Right, Mima?
Misty, mute yourself. And we said that in the past that keeping in touch with members, especially service members of the military, would be extraordinarily difficult for families who were not able to contact them for weeks at a time. And nowadays, the ability to speak and contact and talk with members in just situations like that is a great benefit. We also acknowledge that it requires no money or for cell phones and internet. We can go to the library to have access to these things. And we, along with these advances, we can have access to the prophets and help at our fingertips. They can fit into our pocket, as the prophets have said before. We have an acceleration of tech, and we feel that we have this to spread the gospel to the fullest of times. That it's a missionary tool and is easy to share the gospel with pictures and texts and words. It's a blessing in our lives in other ways as well, such as education and making it possible for us to learn and grow together. And there was a quote that stated, "Every discovery in science and art that is true and useful to mankind has been given by direct revelation from God." And we feel that God knew that we would be so busy in this day and age, and that we would be able to share with instant access and quick sound bites in our busy world. We feel that our day-to-day behavior with tech tells others how we feel, and what we spend our time with shows what we value, and that we need to, when we look at others we can easily tell what kind of day that they are going through. And we can see if they're lonely, sad, or feel inspirational, and we can feel those things along with them. And that we need to have restraint to not be on it all the time, but use it to share our testimony and for the things that we are grateful for. We made connections between Elder Bednar and the four wings of the dragonfly, stating that we feel that they are all interrelated and follow a similar flow, and that it goes really well together. The dragonfly idea, it says that we need to develop a goal and keep it simple. And Elder Bednar asked us to share the gospel, and we have a goal to keep it simple, and that we use many words so that people. These goals help us keep directed to where we would like to go. And from Elder Bednar to the four dragonfly wings, Elder Bednar simply fills in the gaps of the dragonfly wings, stating that the dragonfly wings gives us a great place to start, but with Elder Bednar, it can empower us spiritually as well. When we were talking about what made this persuasive, we decided it was persuasive because it touched on people's hearts about something that was important to everybody. And we compared it to the pillars, the fall, the atonement, and etc. And these are potent topics that they can really touch everyone's hearts. Life is dear to everyone, and finding those things that are dear to people in common can touch a lot of people at the same time. Using real emotions and topics is something someone somewhere will understand. Things such as Facebook and Instagram, a lot of it is sugar-coated, and we need to realize that it is the real, genuine, authentic posts that is the attention grabber. But no one's life is perfect, and in those imperfections, we can find common ground. We have a lot more common ground in the flaws and in the realities of life. Finally, we decided that in effective Facebook and blog pages, it needs to be short and simple and engaging. We have to have a focus and try to be a force for good. We found some good, interesting Facebook and blog posts and Instagram posts, such as the Allison Show, that shows someone who is authentic, consistent, is herself, and respects intellectual property. And we feel like this is the good way to go. Thank you for watching. For us, Cassie.
I will get that posted right away.
I think you're still recording.
Oh, do you want me to? Yeah, I will stop that. Good job, team.